everything yesterday. It gets dumpstered in NA from a lot of games we've seen.
I still maintain that it is good. I think just Vitality playing around the composition, it didn't quite fit with what they were going with. You've seen a lot in Korea have a lot of success.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely need to change the play style, but that's what Peke was talking about. We have the first couple bans coming through here, Trev.
And take a look at that. Rise and Thresh from OG, taking away the Lulu and the Azir. The Lulu's going to be an interesting one for me throughout the series because of how outspoken Origen are when it comes to that champion. It's been banned against them 9 games. They've banned it themselves in 7, and the 2 free during the regular split, they insta-locked it. It's something that they utilize incredibly well.
Now, this is something I was wondering whether we were going to see the prominence. We've seen Ryze over in the LCK, and a lot of people may be thinking, well, why are we seeing Ryze being banned away? Well, Chachi, some of his best performances early on in the split and in the summer of last year were on this Ryze. So Chachi is a strong Ryze player, get it off the table. It's also a flex towards mid, so it's another 1-2 punch.
But then you just play Malzahar into it. But no, we've got the last ban coming out from Origen. It's going to be Sivir, so taking that one off the table. You can't just run those dumb compositions where you run Sivir, tank in the top lane, run at people. Jhin ban into Zven, that's an interesting one.
Now with Sivir and Jhin banned away, Origen may just pick up something like the Kalista here. We know they like the Lucian as well for Zven, so they don't have to rush for Kalista. She has been banned, it's nerfed on 6.6, so there are options. Nidalee is available, the Kindred is available, but it doesn't strike me as too much of an amazing champion when you look at it. He hasn't actually played it yet, so there are a lot of options here for Origen, and then Unicorns will pick 2 of the stronger picks that they want.
Find out what Unicorns prioritize. Just to go back to what Deficia was saying on the desk, Origen opted into blue side 2 of their 3 games, and of course Unicorns opted into red side for the majority. UOL are one of the only teams that have played against both PowerOfEvil and Peke during the regular split, because when PowerOfEvil was out in week 8, Unicorns of Love played against Peke. Peke played Corki that game, so it'll be interesting to see not only how Origen decide to prioritize their own starting mid laner, but what UOL do in response on that red side.
Yeah, and Origen, they prioritize one of the most successful champions they've had. 7 games of Alistar for Mithy, and they've won 6 of them. Mithy has shown us pretty much exactly what we came to expect from 2015 Mithy whenever he's been playing the Alistar, so I'm actually kind of happy to see them lock this. Yes, they now give away a lot of other picks, but this Alistar could be crucial in these early kind of fights that we've started to see with a lot of compositions.
Well, we'll see if Unicorns actually start taking away an AD carry, because both Kalista and Lucian are up, but so is Poppy, top tier in the top lane, Lissandra in the mid lane. Like a lot of people are saying, these are 2 of the strongest champions on this patch, and Unicorns are just going to lock it.
And I do like this, even though they've locked both of their theoretical solo laners, there is the possibility to flex the Poppy and counterpick a top matchup. Poppy support seen very rarely these days. 1 game in North America, and I think 1 game here in Europe as well, if I remember rightly. It's such a small sample size over the last couple of patches. The Lissandra, of course, can flex to both, but I think it's going to be mid lane most likely for Fox.
And it's a relatively safe pick. What does PowerOfEvil want to run into it? Corki is still up and available, something that saw a couple of bans yesterday and is still very prevalent and relevant from all the different leagues. The Lucian Gragas is going to be the safe lock in here. You're not revealing anything, and allows Origen 1 more rotation before they decide what they want to put into their solo lanes.
The other thing is that just a lot of PowerOfEvil's favorite picks available. We know he likes the likes of Orianna, he likes the Varus, he likes the Syndra. All of these picks, while they're not amazing into Lissandra as a straight-up matchup, still he's comfortable on and are available. With Azir gone, with Corki is available, as you mentioned, there are a lot of options for him to feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's very likely we'll see a control mage come out from PowerOfEvil, because that simply is his style, and in interviews like Zven has been saying that that's what they're looking towards in these 2 weeks. They want to try and prep that, they want to try and get the team to play around a control mage in the mid lane. We're not going to see it just yet, but the Gragas comes out for the jungle, but we've seen it flex into the top lane as well, so we have some flexibility there.
At this point, I'm wondering whether Soaz is going to go for the pick for the team here, which would be the Maokai, something like that, a tank in the top lane, maybe the Nautilus as well, and look just for that tanky engage, because with Gragas, with Alistar already there, you've got a good foundation to allow Zven and PowerOfEvil to carry from, and just have this very strong front line on the side of Origen.
Yeah, we had the next 2 pickups, which will be Nidalee and Ezreal coming out, so setting up the poke composition behind the Lissandra, behind the Poppy as well, and just waiting for that potential support pickup. As you mentioned, it could be a Poppy flex, but good chance it's top lane. A lot of that will be illuminated by the next 2 picks from OG.
Yeah, it could be, well, will be, of course, as it is the last 2 picks. So, Unicorns have gone for this composition, which is fairly poke-heavy when you look at the Ezreal, the Nidalee. You do have the Lissandra there to go in for engages, same with the Poppy. I just wonder what they're going to round it out with. If they do want to go for this poke, Trundle would be an option. Also, very good into the tanks. And the tank setup that Origen has right here. So there are certainly options. Also now, okay, this changes things slightly. Soaz is playing that hybrid of damage and tank by putting the Gragas up to the top lane.
Yeah, and that means Kindred will be going into the jungle, Orianna into the mid lane, so that's what you called stress, PowerOfEvil on the control mage, and waiting for that final pickup coming out from the Unicorns. And we're probably expecting a support here.
Yeah, I'm still expecting the support.
I think Poppy's fine into Gragas.
Yeah, and at this point as well, you look at the likes of what Origen have done here. So this is the first time we're seeing Kindred out of Amazing, and it shows some growth over the last couple of weeks because Kindred has risen drastically in priority. Normally we would see Amazing opt for something like a Lee Sin out of the jungle. This is a completely different playstyle.
Played a lot of Gragas towards the end of the split as well, something that had great impact. So Origen have got themselves their team comp with a fairly well-rounded mix of team fight, of some poke, some wave clear, and the makings of a great wombo combo. If Hilly does decide to lock in Morgana, it will not. It will be the Braum instead. So a bit more of a meta pick and something that's going to help out against both that Lucian and Kindred on the front line. But I feel like UOL got a little bit more of a pick style to them with that sort of Nidalee, Lissandra, Ezreal trying to single somebody out and remove them from a fight.
The other thing they're going to do most likely, in fact, almost 100% is Unicorns with double teleport. Now does PowerOfEvil neglect the cleanse for lane to equal the teleport presence, or does he go for the laning summoner of the cleanse, keep himself alive? We know Origen are fairly comfortable playing around this Orianna, but if they can't get the numbers in the fights, that could be this mismatch where Unicorns just TP in with 2 people and the fight's over before it even begins.
Yeah, we'll see if OG can actually deal with like a 1-3-1 setup, or they just try and force objectives and just use this teamfight composition, because they have very good ways to get into a fight. So maybe they can pressure objectives. We'll just have to see as we get into game.
Yeah, we'll find out shortly. You're about to see the 2 coaches walking on stage. Nico the Pico, team analyst, has been with Origen for a little while, but now is officially in the coach position. So
nails the first handshake.
We'll be helping out in between games, of course, going up against Sheepy. You guys, you know what you're doing at home. Jump onto Twitter and let us know who you think is going to come out ahead in this best of 5. At the moment, you can see PowerOfEvil's face there on the graphic for hashtag OGWin. For you guys at home, if you're wondering, Origen will have 5 minutes after the GG moment to decide who is starting for the next game. And Peke is in the building, is in the house, so there are some options for what they want to do.
Yeah, indeed. It could give them a very strong tactical edge in this series. Unicorns of Love opting towards the red side for a couple of their games, I actually think it's pretty smart, because then they can actually decide if they want to change up their strategy depending on who they put in the mid lane, because they have the counter pick on red side.
One thing that I'm not 100% sold on, we do have a pause, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's why.
That's why I'm about to go on a little...
It is a keyboard swap out for PowerOfEvil, so once he gets that new keyboard in place, we will be resuming the game.
This is where Peke sneaks on.
Yes.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Or in my case, GBM sneaks on and fools me.
Well, I kind of feel, though, the way we saw Peke play in lane wasn't particularly different from what we saw from PowerOfEvil. So I'm not sure there's too much of a micro-level playstyle change between the two of them. They're about the same level when you look at it. But I think it affects the team dynamic. That's where we see Peke's level-headedness, his experience come into play.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely does affect the team dynamic more than it does the laning phase, but I still feel like PowerOfEvil puts down more pressure. Like in the early levels up against different laners, I feel like he will do actually a little bit more.
Well, we'll find out if he can. Guys, you've seen the teams, you know the comps. It's time to hit the rift.
Steelback. OG set up the top lane guy. Actually, the package ran out just before he jumped in, and Soaz may die for it.
Yeah, good read here by Vizicsacsi. Yet again, he knew the gang was coming this time. Unicorns, but we have to question, what were OG doing at that point?
This is maybe over-aggressive now by Unicorns, and that should be the win for Origen.
Let's find out who gets the advantage in game 1 of this best of 5.
Soraka.
Obviously, the advantage is for the bananas. Whether or not Unicorns of Love can find some magic.
Ruined.
ruined.
Keep building up all the hype and all
I
attention.
know. The sentiment's there, Trev.
Well, we'll see if it can get saved anytime soon. Because there was some collage work going there. It didn't really have the magic of Bob Ross going on, but there was some scrapbook vibes. Get the PVA glue out.
Yeah, that's more like Art Attack, right? Like
True, like Neil Buchanan. With
yeah.
People that
You've
went
lost
in the UK.
so many people. I have no idea.
I'll let
what
you
guys
take
are
Come on, that's
talking
like
about.
my generation. Even he knows.
I'm
and he's
South
not
African.
even really
I don't
my
know
generation.
I don't know what
All right,
artists
All right,
you're
young
talking about.
whippersnapper.
But listen, let's talk about some numbers just very quickly, because one of the things that stands out for the Unicorns throughout the entire split, in 72% of the games, they pick up first blood. So that's 3 out of 4 games, basically. Origen, on the other hand, they're down at 44%. So in terms of, regardless of the roster swaps and the different people, Unicorns have got a penchant of finding a way to get an early kill and get an early advantage. And that could be a way to build up some confidence on the stage, Pulse.
So the weird thing is, in the early parts of the season, the Unicorns were so good in terms of macro. We were praising them. Pretty much unanimously, everyone was. And they had, what, like 8 out of 8 first bloods in their first 8 games with like Diamond Procs in their first couple of junglers. And now it seems like they're looping back to that. But the great thing before was they were just getting those first bloods. They were getting the early kills, and they weren't trading anything away. Now, I feel like the reverse to last year, where it's like, let's trade some kills back and forth. Let's just go hammer the early game.
Chaos style.
The
baby.
chaos style,
No.
it's back.
No. I don't want it to be back. We can.
No,
at
what we
least
say
keep
is it
our-
never existed.
Yeah, exactly. that's the thing. But I'm interested now to watch Loulex after 2 weeks. 2 weeks now of practice. Will we see a more patient, more fallback
Controlled.
Loulex that we saw a lot from H2K last year, and it led us to kind of have the story where Loulex is kind of invisible, and certainly in some games that the Unicorns have had, I have felt that way. One of the games that stood out in my mind last year was amazing, actually bullying Loulex around the jungle when Loulex was playing for H2K. So this matchup is quite an interesting one for me personally.
So let's find out whether or not Amazing or Loulex is going to have the advantage. And talking about interesting matchups, we're loading back onto the Rift for this very interesting best of 5. I'm holding my breath.
Third time's the charm.
We're in.
All right, we're
good.
in.
We're good.
Fantastic.
Oh, we're bad.
Oh, wait. Predicting it?
I'm predicting.
Okay, we'll
All right.
find out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I saw
Stresses
I saw
on the ball.
movement. I saw movement on stage.
Your analysis. But luckily, the guy that's on screen, PowerOfEvil, I wanted to talk about him because he's coming up against his former team. It is one of those sort of obvious moments. PoE did not play against UOL in week 8 because he was sick, under the weather, and Peke did. So this is the first time in the better part of 2 months that he's going to be coming up and proving that it was the right decision, proving that it was the good call to move to Origen, when truthfully both teams have had very rocky roads to get to playoffs.
Yeah, they've had really rocky roads. And when you look at it, honestly, I mean, for PowerOfEvil, if he doesn't make it through now, not only is it kind of a bad decision, well, not a bad decision, but a tough thing for him to take, the team as well. Origen, going from semifinals at Worlds, they have to win this matchup for the organization to at least breathe a sigh of relief and think, okay, well, maybe we can get a little bit further, at least get to Rotterdam.
I think the interesting thing is we've had reverse expectations on the mid laners, right? We were expecting PowerOfEvil to be plug and play. It was like, well, he'll have the similar playstyle to Peke, bring the same things to the table, and they should be good to go. Didn't really happen. Look at Fox, and it's like, well, how well is he going to perform on Unicorns of Love when they've taken away a lot of, maybe even the identity of the team when you take away power? He's done really well. Steelback's done really well. And now that the expectations have been swapped over, we'll just have to see how it performs on the Rift in the 1v1.
And I think when you look at it, though, the difference is the introduction of Steelback and Fox has kind of evened out the difference that there was between PowerOfEvil and Vardags. When you look at who was carrying the games last year for the Unicorns compared to who's carrying now, that's not to say Fox is a major step down by PowerOfEvil in any circumstance. But when you look at the overall level of the team, I feel like this is a stronger overall lineup than we had last year.
Yeah, we need to find out if they can keep it together, though, and make it work as a unit. And the man on your screen right now, Steelback, quietly successful throughout all of the split, always putting up good numbers, always seemingly in the right place at the right time. And it's just great to see Steelback also speaking out quite a lot more confidently about his own play and his development from last year to this year. Now he's coming up against Zven, a man who at the beginning of the split was so heavily praised and seemed to lose a little balance. That's what I'll say towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, Zven just kept getting caught. There's no two ways about it. He was getting hit by bindings you'd never see him get hit by last year. Whereas I think that has been the big difference in general is both of these AD carries seem to have good teamfight positioning the later into the game, but Zven has started to be caught out a lot more, whereas Steelback tends to survive more, get these triple kills, get quadra kills, and it makes it look like Steelback is doing so much work when, yes, he's doing damage, he's getting the kills, but it's not just all on what he's doing. There's a lot of team play.
You need a front line to be able to be a good-looking AD carry.
Yeah,
And
but if you walk out into the wilderness and just get caught by binding, then that's not really on your front line.
Touche. That's a very valid point. The keyboard was just swapped out, guys, so just doing some quick tests. In theory, if this one is working, we should be able to get back into that game, so I'll keep you up to date if anything changes.
Yeah, fourth time's the charm.
Another one.
The crowd here behind us is definitely in favor of the Unicorns of Love. You can hear the chants and the cheers as we load up onto the Rift. Are we getting off our seats? Are we gonna?
I'm gonna stay sitting for now.
No, I'm getting up. I'm hyped for this. I want the blood flowing. I want everything here, guys.
Body slam. Soaz under Chachi. Damage advantage OG.
Now, how
10 gold in the bank.
How big of a mistake is it to give away the Poppy by Origen here? Because this is an interesting one for me, being kind of a legacy Unicorns of Love. I guess we had the fortunate circumstance of casting their first ever game in a professional scene, you and I, Pulse, and we've known Vizicsacsi to play Poppy pre-rework just into anything that he wants. So I'm now looking forward to seeing not only how strong Chachi's Poppy is, but how much of a mistake it is for Origen, because, you know, we saw yesterday Vitality give away the Poppy and Gamsu punished them.
Yeah, I feel like Poppy is just such a strong pick right now to early rotate because there's so few matchups that do well into it apart from Trundle. And even flexing Gragas into it, it would do okay. Like, you can farm from range for a little bit, but you'll be able to block out the E from Chachi's own W. So it's not a fantastic matchup for Gragas. It's just interesting to pick it into it.
Well, we talk about the matchup and look at the mini-map. It looks like lane swap shenanigans are on the cards. Mithy's going to spot out Loulex and Chachi here. So Mithy's going to have some information to work with, while Zven is immediately moving back up to lane. So a lot of information shared as both teams are spotting one another out.
Yeah, Mithy just going for that camp invade. Can't really get too much there off the Raptor camp with both people around. As you know, generally we see that around the Wolves, and you try and get the Wolves to aggro on the support. A little bit tougher on the Raptors when the 3 mini Raptors are dead, and Mithy's not exactly going to walk next to the big one and go, oh, I'm tanking it. Oh, okay.
So just a small point before we move on about Soaz versus Chachi. If it was standard lanes, which is not now because they've swapped away, Chachi's actually running Bandit over Dangerous Game, so he was just looking to get auto attacks in and didn't really feel the matchup at all that they were ever going to get killed, so he was just trying to get extra gold. That mastery is actually really efficient if you can make use of it. 10 extra gold every 5 seconds is huge, but no one really makes massive use out of it. Like, North American gangplanks will use it, but Europeans won't.
Unfortunately, you're not going to have the opportunity to really get that bank down, Pulse, not yet. But look at the lane swap playing out. Both, you know, one of the towers, Loulex, has already done a full clear of his quadrant to the jungle before moving into enemy territory, and it feels like UOL are marginally ahead of the tempo there. But it's really the next few stages, the next few steps that we need to track.
It's pretty even right now when you look at it. Mithy's pulled the creeps back in the wave. Chachi's actually let them pull up to the tower, but it doesn't matter because they're not aggroed onto the minions in the bottom lane. So it's ever so slightly going to go down in favor now of Origen.
Yeah.
Now it comes on to the recall timings of who gets to buy in base at a nice time. You can see Ezreal actually had to leave, so it kind of affects his buy. He can't really pick up a couple more pots perhaps, but he already has 2. He feels fine.
There's a few things going on in the Keystones. AD carries are going for Fervor. It seems like most AD carries are going to Fervor over Waller's Bloodlust, which some Korean AD carries went for a little
Chachi.
bit. Hylissang, however, went for Grasp with the Undying. What is up, Stress?
Chachi had no real vision of when they were coming bot. Origen
There was a ward. They walked
man.
over the ward. Chachi just decided to stick around for too long.
He's
This
dead.
could be first blood. Origen, pick it up.
I'm not sure why Chachi stayed there. I mean, yes, they had a ward, but it was in a position that they should have spotted that. Chachi just overstayed completely in the bottom lane. He saw Zven and Mithy coming in, and he just even pushed forward in the lane.
Yeah, he saw Zven and carried on farming. He was like, I want this minion. And then it just didn't make any sense.
That is a massive mistake. I'm glad we're getting a replay of this. Watch what Chachi does now after seeing Zven and Mithy. He has a good 5 seconds and pushes forward into the wave. This is suicidal in this kind of situation. There is no way you escape this. I do not know why Chachi did this.
Yeah, very weird. I mean, he had plenty of lead in time. That was probably the most obvious thing that was ever going to happen, but I don't know. I don't have an explanation for you.
Major mistake, and something that we've been talking about in terms of the lane swaps. You back away the moment you see the opponent duo lane stepping into your lane. Chachi disrespects that play and falls slightly behind. So Unicorns now onto the tower in the top lane. Origen have already dropped the bottom lane tower, and Soaz should be able to secure a lot of additional gold and some XP from this play as well.
I mean, that's the whole reason that you put the ward down.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's to not die in that situation. And, you know, somebody might look at that and be like, oh, well, you know, it's not that big of a deal. You know, they managed to get the top lane push at the same time, but the gold that goes over to Zven actually makes that huge. They're realistically a very few kills in a lane swap, and it puts Chachi so far behind as well now because he had to go back to base. Now he's got to come back out with his team. He didn't manage to collect too much more farm from that either. It's not like he was greedy for 10 minions and managed to get all of them.
And in an immediate sense, I mean, Soaz is in bot lane farming by himself. Only now is Steelback going out of the base. Zven's already there. Chachi has to run away, and when he's running away, he's not farming anything. Soaz is still just down there, and the wave is pushing towards him.
And Chachi's had to recall now as well. I wonder where he's going to go from this, because he can't sit in the top lane, and they'll really punish Steelback if they draw him back from the bottom lane now, because he's just run bottom and hasn't got any farm yet. So if they swap around, which they're doing by the looks of it, look, Poppy's going bot now. This is going to punish either Steelback or Chachi. Whoever pulls back from this lane is going to get put so far behind.
So advantages for Origen. They've accrued nearly 1,000 gold lead by 6 minutes. Slightly ahead of the plays, making the first moves around the map. Soaz has got a level over Chachi, and currently about a minion wave and a half more. I just want to mention that we've not looked at PowerOfEvil or Fox yet, as is somewhat customary in these lane swaps, but it's Flash Cleanse into Flash Teleport. So UOL, I've got the additional, map play in those dual teleports.
There is an impending problem here. Rift Herald is being taken on the top side of the map with Zven pushing the wave already in, and Ezreal and Poppy are in full vision on the bottom side of the map. There is a good chance here of a push on for the second.
Oh! PowerOfEvil really punishing Fox. Uses the Shockwave for some lane dominance. Not going to accrue a whole lot more than that, but sends him away.
Zven's up to the turret, and nobody has reacted from the Unicorns. Chachi could have teleported, but it would, bank on the fact that Origen weren't here. Here comes the Rift Herald buff up to the top side as well. Unicorns are so unbelievably far behind on this play.
Steelback and Hylissang aren't even going to reach the tower before it goes down. That will be the TP back to mid lane from Fox. It doesn't have that summoner now.
And because Fox just used his TP and Nidalee was the bottom side, they can't even punish the fact that Orianna doesn't have teleport and can't make it to the top lane for some kind of skirmish. It's way too early for it anyway. But the Unicorns are going to fall consistently further and further behind. That this play keeps continuing. They need to somehow get a catch, pick somebody off, and slow Origen's pushing game down.
I'm just befuzzled at the decision making. It just doesn't make any sense, because it's not like they made a play or a sacrifice on one side of the map to get something on the other side. They just straight up made a mistake and then made another mistake, and now they're so far behind that Origen having this advantage in the early game, you go into the mid game, and with this teamfight composition we were talking about in Champion Select, they just force objectives, and what are Unicorns of Love gonna do when they're so far behind?
All right, we'll find out. It's 2,000 gold now before 10 minutes. Dragon's still available, not secured yet by either team. The only first major objective that we're still looking for. Soaz is going to sniff around middle lane. Still only level 4 with 20 CS to his name, and 78% of the fans behind him, despite the local house yelling for UOL.
Man, Chachi's now going to try and freeze in the top lane and try and get as much farm, but that now punishes the bottom side of the map, because you either now force Chachi to lose all of this or TP bottom to defend against this push. It means that consistently, Unicorns cannot get gold to the right methods.
Yeah, there's no one really here. UOL have pulled up Hilly and Steelback. Origen have not fully committed to putting damage on the tower though. Instead, positioning themselves for a potential gank. They're going in on Fox. Wait for the initiation.
The sombrero, and now that Mithy comes in, he'll knock Fox towards PowerOfEvil, but there's nothing to do anymore. He doesn't have Shockwave. Loulex comes into the middle lane. Chachi now teleports in. He gets a slam on towards the wall, onto Amazing. Lamsh's spike comes up. Now Soaz is coming in from the side, steps outside of the circle. He'll be going down. That's a 1-for-0.
That's a 1-for-0. It may not be over here as Steelback shoots the ult through. Fox clears the wave. Okay, the fight is over at this point. So Chachi teleports into middle lane to try and get into the fight. Now he lost a lot top lane. Before this, Soaz actually hadn't got a lot of farm himself, so neither top laner is level 6 yet. Normally the experience difference would be the key thing in this matchup, but Soaz, I haven't really been focused on what he's been doing the last few minutes, but because of the way that Chachi had the wave pushed up towards him and the bottom wave was pushing out from Origen as well. Looks like Soaz hasn't had that much farm either.
Oh, trigger finger just too early on PowerOfEvil. Out of range or forgot to press the Q. We'll have to ask him about that. But luckily for OG, they still managed the outplay despite the UOL re-engage.
Yeah, and this is just Chachi being one step closer away from the edge, I guess. Right outside the Kindred ultimate, and that will, you know, convert to the second death now for Chachi.
One step closer to the edge and he wouldn't have died. Regardless, PowerOfEvil is going to continue to play this one out. Linkin Park, come on, you should know that one.
Like I don't know this.
Yeah.
No,
I think Hybrid Theory
like...
might be older than he is.
It might actually be. It might actually be. So Origen are still in the lead. Origen are still playing very confidently. And truthfully, they are punishing Unicorn's tardy decision-making. It's slow. It's late. It's very reactive. And because of that fact, Origen are now going to get their hands on the first dragon. So they got the first tower, they got the first blood, they've got the first dragon. This early game is looking fantastic for Origen.
I'll be honest, Unicorns have just looked off kilter. From the very first play from Chachi and the second play from Chachi, they were just not smart decisions. And then Origen made one proactive play. Unicorns of Love didn't react to it correctly. And you just take a look at mid lane right now. Fox has been chunked out, but still has his ultimate, still has his flash. PowerOfEvil, are they actually going to pressure it? I don't think they can pressure it.
It doesn't look like it yet. Shockwave was used, so we can assume Fox was bullied out of that lane. All the while, keep in mind that despite the good work, or despite keeping Chachi down for the first 8 minutes, he's been allowed to farm up a sizable advantage over Soaz.
He has been able to now, just because of the way he's absorbing the waves. Now Unicorns are going to utilize their TPs in the side waves and try and hold mid with just Ezreal and Braum, which should be fine at this point. Orianna kind of has to step pretty far forward to push through. So now they're going to utilize what should be a double TP comp, but you can see that Chachi has to respect now the duo lane of Lucian and Alistar. As soon as they appear in the lane, he has to back away, cannot afford to die for a third time in that kind of setup. Of course, the second one was in a team fight, but still, Chachi, when it comes to his decision-making, has not been in the best spot this game so far.
We've had a lot of rotations in this game, but I want to get your guys' thought on Chachi going for the early Swifties. Like, he's been running to lane a lot, but it made him particularly squishy, as we saw in the last trade. Now he's gone for Spectres, but was that the right choice?
I mean, the thing is, he's going to need them anyway, and in his mind, he's been getting very periodic little bits of farm. So he's like, well, okay, I'll get the boots the first time, and then, oh, I've got 600. Okay, well, it lets me get gold a little bit faster. And as long as we don't keep getting pushed in, as long as at some point I can get at least a wave to myself and push it back out to the middle and back away, I can go and do that on the other side of the map. So for Chachi, it's kind of about just getting the farm, but at the same time, he's like, well, I'm just going to get what I can.
Fox tried to get what he could, but Soaz was able to use that body slam to move for safety. Looking at your mini-map, there's a ton of wards littered throughout the jungle. UOL doing relatively well at warding up the bottom quadrant, but Origen, they have claimed ownership of the top half of the map because there are 2 pinks and 3 invisible wards inside UOL's jungle.
Yeah, and you speak to a lot of different people right now, and people are just saying that Origen have looked extremely good coming into this match, that weeks of preparation have really done well for them. You look at Unicorns of Love, and there seems to be something about Unicorns in like a best-of series where they just kind of turn up in a different way from Fnatic, because we know it's infrastructure and what they do in terms of preparation. Unicorns of Love, something just goes well for them. Like that spear onto Amazing. That went very well for them. Loulex, I don't think you want to follow up onto that one, buddy. He will back away now.
That spear onto Amazing shows the extra damage that Loulex has right now, but also Amazing's damage himself isn't particularly high. Kindred has had 0 hunts this game. 0. I just checked on the tooltip because I haven't seen Amazing prioritize. So he hasn't been able to stack up off the crabs. He was unfortunate on the first ones that they were on the weak side of the map.
Unlike Spirit yesterday.
Yeah, and he's been involved in 1 kill, which tells you he didn't change the mark at the time. That was the kill in mid lane.
Well, unfortunately, that's a defensive flash from Loulex. Red buff was picked up by, I believe, Amazing smiting it away. Chachi decides against it. Look at the CS differences. 30 between Loulex and Amazing. Loulex's Nidalee has been able to farm up around 800 to 900 gold more than his opponent's number, and it looks like Amazing should get his hands on his first mark of the Kindred, because that Scuttle Crab will go down very shortly. And it looks like Origen are even just going to brute force their way onto this mid tower. Again, UOL nowhere to be seen. because they'd assigned Fox down to the bottom lane.
Yeah, they've assigned Fox down to the bottom lane, and Steelback, his ultimate wasn't quite available, of course. Ezreal did receive a nerf a good few patches ago that increased the cooldown on his ult, so it now means you get about an extra wave of creeps in between compared to what you normally would do. So the actual wave clear for the Unicorns without Fox and without the Ezreal ult is fairly low. So they're able to just push it in, and that is a key moment, though, because now it opens up the jungle paths.
Well, the map has been opened even wider now, with 4 towers down for the Unicorns of Love. Again, a lot of vision in that top quadrant. Those pinks are still in place, by the way. UOL have not had a chance to clear out Origen's vision in their half of the map. Now is where we start to see how much has Origen learned in the last 2 weeks. What is their decision-making around the map? And how do they play the different lanes? Fox is going to make a play here on the Soaz.
Yeah, there's the ultimate. He gets the lockdown and an additional snare. Loulex now coming in from the side. Will be flashing away from that one. Soaz trying to get out of here. He's already used the E and doesn't have any other way to get away. And Fox will be placing down the kill on top of him. Meanwhile, in the top lane, chase after from Zven. The flash over the wall from Chachi will keep him alive for now. He's got the back of the rest of the team, so he's trying to keep Zven interested and keep him around. But Zven, he's going to punish him. He gets the kill. Now Steelback looking to chase after. Should be able to pick up this one. Jumps into his own Essence Flux, and that'll be the kill.
Actually ends up giving the shutdown gold over, so a little bit more gold goes towards the Unicorns there when you look at 1 kill bottom plus the shutdown in exchange for the kill on the top side. They also did get both summoners from Zven at the cost of both summoners from Steelback. So Soaz at this point pushed in. Now doesn't have everything with it. He pushes this far up because he's like, okay, well I got Tribush, that's okay, right? But then you look at the vision they have topside. They don't see anybody really from Unicorns. From Unicorns on the top side. So you have to infer that most of the team is bottom side. This is the fight with Chachi against Zven, and Chachi facing off. Chachi just needed to buy a little bit more time here. Zven was backing away, so he had to somehow push forward and try and keep him interested, but yeah.
To be honest, I don't think he expected Zven to flash into him, especially when he did have the bush warded and he was basically blind face checking the bush, which did result in the kill to Steelback. It's like, look, I'm just gonna feed him and then feed the kill over to you. It's fine.
I'm a little surprised Steelback flashed, just because with the Iceborne Gauntlet, if you hit one of them, it was very easy. But then I guess that's the respect he gives Zven, is like,
sure,
well, he's gonna dodge all of my Mystic shots, so I guess I need to flash auto.
Well, Dragon will be up in just a moment. Looks like Origen are positioning themselves for it. With Soaz dying there just after 15 minutes. He's actually got the second highest amount of deaths before 15 minutes. The person in first is amazing with the highest amount of deaths before 15 minutes. It's 14, then 12. And Origen have just been caught out. Multiple players, multiple times, all throughout the split. That statement aside, this early game has looked very, very good and very favorable for Origen because of how they played the lane swap, how they punished Chachi for making the same mistake. I've just criticized Soaz an amazing form.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of don't wholly buy in that Origen have had a great early game. Vizicsacsi made a mistake, and Origen kind of punished it in the methodical way that you would expect that to be punished. So credit to Origen for doing that, but Chachi with a so uncharacteristic. I don't actually think we've seen that exact kind of play in Europe in lane swaps. I may be mistaken on that. We may have a couple of other examples, but man, that play really put a difficult setting on this game for the Unicorns of Love. They lost so much just off Chachi dying.
And it's about to get worse, I feel, as we head into mid-game, because I feel Origen are about to come online. Amazing is 1 stack away from sated. Mid lane just hit 2-item power spike. Top lane's about to do the same. AD carries just hit 2-item power spike.
Unicorns, however, have done a decent job in not hemorrhaging further objectives. As soon as we ended up in a situation where Zven was top against Chachi, Lissandra was down in the bottom lane, suddenly Origen slowed down. It took them a good few minutes to push into the middle lane to get that turret, and from now, that's going to be the same kind of thing. Is Origen are going to be slower on the pushes, slower on the objectives, than they have been previously in this game. So the Unicorns of Love have ways of dealing with that. They have Steelback, who is powering up right now. They've got Fox, who can always look for an engage. And, you know, Chachi, he's not so far behind in this game that he can't go aggressive.
Amazing's in trouble, already flashed defensively, and a teleport's coming out from the Unicorns. The Claw of Doom, will it be Amazing's Doom? Glacial Fisher to cut off the escape path, and the Respite will not save his life. Loulex decides to pounce forward aggressively, and Amazing gives up another death.
Gives up another death.
It's just Amazing in their jungle. Like, you get caught out against a composition which can catch people.
And the thing is that he was in the jungle warding without anybody else from his team.
Here comes Soaz.
Mid lane looking for this flank to come in. This is 4v5, remember. Soaz is very tanky. Good ultimate onto Fox. Chachi now is tagging up the front lines. Will jump into PowerOfEvil. But now he's just too deep, and his team isn't there. And they may have overcommitted as well. Soaz, he doesn't land a body slam, and Chachi made it another day. Soaz now into the team, but Chachi doesn't get the pin against the wall. That will be the 1-for-1 trade. Now Hylissang under attack. Mithy comes in. There's the combo. There's the kill. The quick double coming in for Zven. Now onto Steelback.
He's going to run for his life. Ardent Blaze tags him up, looking for the movement speed. Zven dashes forward as PowerOfEvil's run out of mana. It's a triple kill for Zven. He's 6-1 on Lucian.
And what all started with the impositioning of Amazing in the jungle, it turns into an overpush onto a tower, and they don't get it. They overcommit, and in comes Soaz from the backside of the fight in a very extended fight. Turns out 4 for 5 overall.
In the 4v5.
In the 4v5. You're hand signaling me while laughing, Trevor. I was like, pretty sure not 5 of them died, but I trusted you and I was wrong too.
He was trying to call me like an aeroplane or something. I was like, I don't know what you're trying to do here, buddy.
Giggling at the same time because I said impositioning instead of misposition, but this was the misposition.
This was the in-position.
In the jungle and locked in position in the end.
There you go.
When you look at it. English is hard, folks. In comes, as we fast forward, this is the overcommit onto the tower, and Soaz, when he's available, comes in from the back of the fight. It's a deep ward, pretty far into the lane of the Unicorn, so they had warning that this was coming. Fox tries to get himself away. We're back into another fight.
Oh, Chachi, he's in a fight with a ward. He won, and now he's backing away into the top side. Mithy is going to be taking down the ward in return.
And this is the worst 20-minute stats that Chachi's had all split long. You know, to go back to what you were saying earlier, Stress, how Chachi's decision-making has cost him. Up until this point, his worst 20-minute stats was 0, 2, and 2. And he's already given up 4 deaths. The Shockwave pulls Loulex back towards PowerOfEvil, but there's no real follow-up. PowerOfEvil, I think, is very trigger-happy today on that Shockwave. Throwing it out willy-nilly. It's worked out a few times, but gotta be a little careful, because it's a big cooldown to just throw out there.
So I always get confused when I watch PowerOfEvil play Orianna, because I'm like, you're missing a lot of shockwaves, but then you're like 1-0 with 4 and haven't died, and Hylissang's about to die. He's pretty dead.
So tell me more about PowerOfEvil's Orianna.
It just, I don't know, it's odd, man. Like, he just doesn't die, he has a really good scoreline, and he ends the game and somehow gets a pentakill with Smite, and I'm like, this shouldn't work, but it's working. And I guess he's a good Orianna.
I mean, it's because he hasn't got the Smite. That's why he's missing.
Maybe, but he hasn't died.
Like,
and he's got
full
good
power
stats.
when he's got the Smite.
And he's farming well.
Well, I mean, it's difficult not to farm well on Orianna.
Sure,
Go over
into
to
Lissandra.
Raptors, queue over, bring it back. It's like, hey, extra 3 CS.
Yeah.
Well, talking about the CS differences, it is still a 2,000 gold lead. Mithy eats the Javelin Toss, but it won't really matter. The one thing that does matter, QSS, Essence Reaver, BF Sword, and Zven is currently 7-1.
Yeah.
The man who was largely responsible for Origin's wins throughout most of the split is in a position where he could 1v9
Yeah.
if needed to.
He's strong enough at this point that realistically, Power can miss just about every ult for the rest of the game, and as long as he shields Zven and keeps him alive, that's all good. It's
Take
fine.
me.
Just EW, give me utility, that's all I need. Realistically, if he hits an ult though, Zven just like 1 piercing lights and 1 shots like 4 people in a team, so Zven is so difficult to deal with right now. One thing to note is Zven is still going the static Shiv route on Lucian. We had a discussion about this earlier because we were watching some LCK games from the Afrika Rocks game, and it was like, well, we're seeing Korea go a lot more rapid fire cannon, and with the amount of wave clear that Origen have right now, I'm a little bit surprised that Zven hasn't gone for the safety route, or at least like the longer ability to hit.
Well, it helps out in those team fights, a little bit more
It
AoE.
does.
Amazing's going to have some help from Mithy on the Dragon as Zven, he just does the fadeaway culling. There is the potential for a fight as Chachi is dashing forward. Mithy, can he commit for a flash pulverize? He's posturing, he wants to, and he backs away. I wanted it more than he did, apparently.
Just one of those things, come on, fight. But, you know, we asked coming out of Champion Select, how big of a mistake would it be to give Vizicsacsi Pomp? Strong pick for him, strong pick for the meta. Apparently not right now. When you look at this game state, we asked it and we've had the answer.
Yeah, also, that is 3 dragons, not 1 Baron on the graphics, so disregard that for now, guys. It was the 3rd dragon of the road that's been picked up here for Origen. Movement speed's going to help them out in terms of playing. But again, even though the gold lead does not look substantial, it's been 25 minutes of control for Origen. from the very sort of get-go of the lane swap, from punishing mistakes, despite the monumental mistake Chachi made, you still have to be a good enough team to catch that and then do something with it. And that's what Origen have just exemplified, even though some of their team fights have been wonky.
I think at the same time, the fact that Zven got that first kill.
Oh, yes.
Because somehow makes it like, you know those novelty oversized baseball gloves, like cartoons? It's like that. Zven's like, I've got this, guys. And then like just
And
holds
it catches
on
like
to it.
7 balls all at the same time.
Exactly. Ends up 7-1.
Yeah. Well, he's been doing very well in this game. And just the fact he's been so far ahead means he can go for the early Quicksilver Sash. So that's almost invalidated Fox as well. So Fox, now instead of ulting Zven to lock him down, just has to ult himself to try and zone him away as like a stopgap measure in team fights, rather than just being able to burst him down, unless he can get there with someone else like Chachi or Loulex. But it's so difficult when you have this front line on Origen.
Yeah, and there's such a scary fact of the game. At 25 minutes, Sven's already dealt 12,000 damage to enemy champions. Amazing has dealt 800. So, like, Amazing's not even putting damage on champions yet. I mean, that's because he got caught out in the previous fight, so
Been farming a lot as well.
it is going to affect it. But once he gets into a position where that Alistar Gragas can buy time to get autos, you've got that additional damage source that you are allowed to deal with.
I mean, Amazing's basically a non-factor, though, in this game. Like, as much damage as he will bring the later, and it will be good for Origen, don't get me wrong. Right now, if Amazing had 0 damage and still had his ultimate available to keep Zven alive, while he just, like,
relevant.
smashes unicorns. Like, that's the difference between having, like, a 7-1 carry right now and a 2-1 Ezreal. It's quite nice to have an Ezreal that's ahead, who is scaling very well, but there's going to be a point where we see Zven start hitting champions, and at level 14, along with PowerOfEvil, with this amount of extra damage, there is going to be a sight to see.
Yeah, it kind of worked out really well that Zven has all the kills, because like if a lot went onto Soaz and then maybe Mithy picks one up by mistake and then it was a couple like spread across the team, it wouldn't be as bad because it's all on Zven, and the way that Unicorns Love are going to deal with it are invalidated now, then that puts them in a really negative position.
Now, of course, the other alternative is that if they manage to make a pass, if they manage to disrupt Amazing and Gragas, Soaz rather, get to the back line, all of that gold, all of that damage, once that's removed from a fight, that's an opportunity for UOL. The right flank with double TPs, I mean, it's quite literally all of the eggs in the Zven basket.
And, you know, we've spoken about Zven getting caught out.
Yeah.
In this split, more than we've seen before.
True.
I feel like
They're fighting over red buff.
unlikely to happen. Yeah, it's not a worthwhile fight. Chachi is like, okay, guys,
I want to know if
They
he gets
did
it. No one gets it. All right.
The thing is, this is going to be a really long fight. That
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh,
it's a
let's go to the big
distraction
one.
from mid, apparently.
Okay. No, let's go back. Poppy and Gragas. Roll that barrel.
Bar roll.
Slam him
Hammer
with the belly.
shock.
It is quite fun.
This is
actually,
like
watching two
Pokemon.
tag.
You actually, one of you
It's
is
like
Pokemon
turn-based.
trainer.
There we go. The slam against the wall. There's the ultimate. Gets pulled in by PowerOfEvil. See ya. I'm swapping out.
And sent the shockwave away. Sven's in trouble.
he's got his own.
1v3 QSS has been used. Glacial Fissure. Sven even sidesteps the True Shot barrage. A pulverize comes down from Mithy as Amazing's in and amongst the fight. Lamb's Respite is available and it may be needed. The crowd's chanting behind UOL, but no kills are secured. That was one.
It was close. Sven just got tagged again, but it looked like he was on his own. But Zven with the sidestep on the Ezreal ultimate again. We were talking about, can he just dodge all of the rest of the damage? That was touch and go moment there for the Unicorns. They thought perhaps they had Zven down and could have built something from it, but it was not to be. Man, that's some back and forth fights. Ultimately, nothing really happened.
No, I mean, Origen's damage control is really good when running away. You can send Alistar in, he pops his ultimate, he headbutts someone, he delays with Pulverize. Amazing as an ultimate that he didn't even need to use. Zven is very mobile, and those reaction times as well, the sidestep on the True Shot was really cool. We're going to see the turn-based combat once again. Super effective. See ya.
Shockwave still caught Chachi at least, just before the hammer shock. The verdict came down.
I choose you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they literally swapped out, and Chachi ran away. Flea was successful. Now Unicorns of Love are going to back away in the mid lane. And Soaz, yeah. That's not a good call, man. They always run away. Oh, Zven over the wall. What are you doing, man? Now Amazing pops alive. Keeps him alive, and actually turned into a good play. You're a smarter man than me, Zven.
What on earth is happening? Soaz still has his flash, body slam, and explosive cask available. Origen can press on. 40-second death time is for Loulex.
Man, the ball's on Zven. I'm not talking about Orianna either.
No, you're not. Because when have you ever seen a Lucian go, okay, well, I'm just going to E over into 2 people when one of them is a Lissandra? Well, when you've got a Mercurial Scimitar.
And a
all
Lamb's
of this
Respite
damage.
is backer.
Exactly. In comes the TP. Chachi? Okay.
Chachi's teleporting into the pit. I think
cancelled
he
it.
cancelled that one all of a sudden. The Baron threat is on. The verdict is being wound up, but it is too late. A defensive shockwave as PowerOfEvil is sent packing into the jungle. Mithy's trying to set up a kill, but Origen realize they've got the buff, they've got the Baron, and they back away.
That is one of the weirdest TPs I've seen in a while. Chachi TPs from just outside mid lane to try and flank in on the Baron, then cancels it. I'm not sure that that would have been the best of ideas.
It's a Zven play.
So, you know, casually just skiing over the wall into Lissandra.
I didn't know Lucian was an initiation champion.
No, I didn't either. You know, I feel like in these 2 weeks they've been doing like trust exercises and Sven's been like, you know, it's like, catch me, amazing. It's like, I got you, bro, every single time. And that's what led up to that play.
I feel like in this one, it was just like all four of them standing behind him. It's like,
That's what it looked like.
So there's that TP that was just cancelled by Chachi. On screen, you can see in the corner, Dragon number 4 is being secured by Origen, uncontested, plus the Baron. We're 30 minutes in. Aspect is now a real threat. If this Baron doesn't crack open an inhibitor, Origen have got some tools, but they've got 2 minutes before this power play runs out. And actually, they're hemorrhaging some gold, but they can make that up quickly, I'm sure.
yeah, so that TP from Chachi was trying just to close in on the flank. The problem was, I don't think Unicorns really wanted that fight either way. And it's not like he would have really successfully stolen. PowerOfEvil turns around though.
Ah, yeah, he's out of there.
It's like, oh, you want to call my bluff?
Yeah, he's actually fairly tanky at this stage now that he's got the Rod of Ages. That's been stacking up bot lane. Just going to go down. I mean, they have Baron buff, and Unicorns of Love are going to have to give away some towers. This is where they have to draw the line, though.
Find out if they can. Tower's getting dropped. Tower's already down. There was no hesitation. Soaz has been sent with Mithy. There's no frontline here for Origen, and they picked up a kill into Amazing. Respite unable to get used. The shockwave pulls back onto Loulex, but it's Hylissang that gives up his life. They're chasing down Vizicsacsi.
And he's going to go down for the double. That's going to be a third kill. This one over Zven. The punish is unbelievable. The flash, the E, the Q, the triple over to PowerOfEvil.
And this is just Origen being unbelievably far ahead in this game, and they just go in. Amazing didn't even get a chance to ult himself, and it didn't matter. They had enough damage from the shockwave, from the dissonance. PowerOfEvil chunks them low, and between Zven and Power, they rip apart the Unicorns.
There was no hesitation, constant aggression, and Origen dominantly pick up game 1 in this best of 5. Even under the fountain, they're picking up kills.
Oh, well, we're not having Fantasy LCS, so no reason to play for KDA in this one.
Yeah, they get points now. So as an Amazing, screw me, all split long, and now they get points.
Yeah, I know that feel, bro.
Yeah, same. Zven, the same for me. 8-1-4 in that game, but, you know, you gotta look at the beginning of that game and say that was... I hate to say that a game was like almost won and lost on an individual mistake, but it was made so difficult by the very beginning of that lane swap. The second phase, where Chachi dies because of his personal mistake, and snowballs the entire game. Because Zven gets the kill, Origen then take down towers, they move very smartly across the map to their credit, and they're able to just punish the Unicorns.
Yeah, a lot didn't make sense. I want to see another game in this series where they don't make those individual mistakes and we actually just see them go toe-to-toe into the mid-game, actually on an even playing field. But yeah, a lot didn't make sense in that game, and they didn't respond well either. Like, you talked about them catching a throw, that being from Origen, and I think they did it very well, and they punished them accordingly, but there was a lot to catch.
Yes, that is very fair.
It was very fair. There was a moment where Unicorns managed to get the 1-3-1 scenario and looked like they were starting to maybe utilize their comp a little bit better, slowing down Origen, but that was just Zven powering himself up.
Yeah.
Suddenly he goes from like 1-0, jumps to 3-0, 4-0, 7-0.
Yeah, it was just a phenomenal performance. I encourage you guys to check out the eSports Twitter for the damage graph, because at the end of the game, Amazing dealt 4% of the damage, but 1 Lamb's Respite opened up Baron and probably the game. We're going to head to the analyst desk to talk a little bit more about how